I'd like you to imagine your dream life. See the version of you who has what you want to have, feels how you want to feel, and is who you want to be. I'm Brittany Hoops, your hypnotherapist and manifestation coach, and this is the show where I'll teach you to master the full power of your mind, to guide you on your journey towards destination manifestation.
Take a step back for the ones who can't do that. Hope I separate from my past. Hope I don't just
Hello there, travelers. Welcome to another episode of the Destination Manifestation Podcast. I am so excited, you guys. I know I'm always excited at this start of episodes, but if you are listening to or watching, I should say, the YouTube version of the show, expect some major updates over the next couple weeks. I am transforming my bare bones office space that I've dealt with for the past 4 years and just never got around to transforming before. I am transforming it into a full-fledged studio, and I'm so excited. The stuff that I've been ordering is arriving. I got a whole lighting kit, and it's going to be better quality audio and video, and I'm just so excited. It's going to be like a real big league show, which this show has deserved to be for so long. So I'm excited for you guys to get to see it. So, one thing I want to say with today's episode is I know that if you are listening right now, I know one thing about you. I know you're a manifester. In fact, the truth is we all are, right? We can't help it. But I know that since you are listening to this show, that means that you want to be deliberate with it, right? You want to have some say with it. You want to direct what you want to create in your life and the type of life that you want to live. I know that about you. And deliberate manifesting, at the end of the day, is a skill. And it's something that you have to learn how to do. It's something that you have to actively do. You can read all the manifesting books. You can listen to all the manifesting podcasts. You can watch all the manifesting reels and TikToks on social media. But if you aren't applying it, well, you're only learning about it, right? You aren't deliberately doing it. So how can you integrate deliberate manifestation practices into your day-to-day? What can that look like? Why even do it, right? We go to the gym and we lift weights to create a snatched body, right? Well, what's the manifestation equivalent? Have you ever thought of it? What practices or routines can you integrate into your day-to-day that will become part of your lifestyle so that you're living a life where deliberate manifestation and creation is just sort of weaved into what you do and who you are? Well, law of attraction, law of assumption, universal laws, manifestation, all of that isn't a religion. Not at all. Okay. And personally, that's part of the reason why I'm drawn to it, why I love it. Traditional religion just doesn't really resonate with me anymore. And I don't even really consider, at the end of the day, manifestation to be a belief system, even. A lot of people would call it a belief system. I don't, because what's there to believe? Like, do you actively believe? Are you a believer in gravity? No, it's just gravity's just part of life. It just is. It's there. It's a law. And I would say with all the advances that we have had in neuroscience and scientific inquiry and developments in quantum physics, manifestation is no longer this woo-woo sort of thing anymore. It's a real, effective way to explain how things come to be in our 3D reality and existence. And it's becoming more and more accepted and mainstream each and every day. I've been studying this for 17 years, and it used to be something that I didn't feel like I could talk to other people about, or that other people even knew what I meant, or, it felt like woo, spiritual sort of thing. And now it's just this mainstream thing that people just say, oh, manifest that, and it's just this vernacular that we've all adopted. In fact, did you know that the Cambridge Dictionary announced its word of the year last year in 2024, and that word was manifestation? I was so happy when I saw that news. I was like, yes, the world is waking up. And so if you're interested, this is kind of a side note, but if you are interested in the science behind manifestation, because that's my favorite subject, is to look at it through a scientific lens, particularly the neuroscience, which is the science of our brain. I did a full 4-part series here on the podcast called the Neuroscientific Manifestation Series. So I would highly suggest that you scroll back in the library of this show, of the episodes, listen to those, check those out if you're interested. In fact, I continue to learn more and more about this area of manifestation each day. I'm reading a book right now called The Magic Mind, I believe, by Dr. James Doty. And it is just like blowing my mind. You know, it's all the stuff I've heard and know before, but I can't wait to kind of bring some of these core concepts to you in the show. Anyways, let's recap, okay? Manifestation, if it's not a religion and it's not a belief system, then for me, I kind of view it as the guidelines for the type of lifestyle I want to live. I personally like to keep manifestation principles sort of top of mind. I like to naturally integrate manifestation practices kind of in my day-to-day, simply because I just sort of enjoy life more when I'm remembering and being conscious of my own alignment to source. It's just more fun, right? I enjoy life more when I feel like I have my hands in the clay, as Abraham Hicks always says, right? When I'm actively creating what I want. I want to live a life where I'm in the driver's seat of what I experience. I'm directing it. I don't like feeling like life is happening at me. No, I like to remind myself and put my money where my mouth is and align my behaviors to my values in a way where I am waking up and I'm saying, here's what I want today to be like. I decide, then I create it. And for me, that means not letting manifestation overtake my life. Even though as I say that, I kind of laugh because I'm a little bit of a weird example here, right? I teach this stuff. So manifestation probably is a bigger part of my life than it might be even for yours. But that's purely because it's my job to help others do it. But still, even with it being my job, even with it being something that I talk about and think about every single day, it doesn't rule my life. I've integrated it into my life seamlessly so that I don't really have to think to do it anymore, even deliberately. And with intention, it's just kind of baked into how I live. And it kind of reminds me of how those like super healthy people are. I wish I could consider myself one of them. Maybe one day I'll manifest that. Maybe you are one of them. But think of those like the healthiest person you know, right? They don't question going to the gym each day or making their morning smoothie, right? It's just how they live their life. It doesn't feel like a choice to be made because it's become an automatic choice for them. And how something becomes an automatic choice for you is when your subconscious mind has adopted it. It's a choice that they have made so long ago and a choice that they have repeated. That's the key word here, repeated day in and day out, that they no longer question or debate the choice. The subconscious mind has just adopted and accepted that choice. It's just part of their routine. And perhaps even one step up from that, it's part of who they are. It's part of how they see themselves. It's part of their self-concept and their identity. And that's kind of just how I see manifestation, deliberate manifestation. I've created practices that are just part of my daily routine. They're just part of how I live my life, just how I brush my teeth, I check the mail, I cook dinner, I do deliberate manifestation. It's just part of the day to day. And I do those things because they help me feel connected and aligned. And I know that when I do that, they help me go out into the world from that energy. And then my manifestations just happen. I'm setting myself up for success preemptively. And so for me, that looks like a manifestation, alignment, morning routine. And so today I'm going to share with you mine. And I hope it inspires you to go out there and create your own, okay? So by no means do you have to copy mine. There's nothing magical to this routine, but I am going to explain to you why I do the things that I do so that it can inspire you to come up with a routine that works for you. That's the whole purpose. The whole purpose of a routine like this is to get you into a state of alignment. So if you're unfamiliar, alignment is with is the idea that basically you and source, meaning the universe, God, divine intelligence, whatever you want to call it, right? That energy that is bigger than you and me. It's when you remember that actually you are a part of it. You're an extension of source. You feel it. You open your heart up to it. You feel those high flying emotions that tell you that yes, you're on the right path, that correspond with your connection to it. I mean, that's alignment. And so we want to get into a state of alignment when we're manifesting and spend as much time as we can in that state of alignment for multiple reasons. Okay. One, it just feels freaking good. It's a nice way to spend your time. It feels a whole lot better than being stuck in worry or doubt or fear. And two, we know that when we're in alignment with source, we see the world through source's eyes. We see the world as source sees it. We know the truth of our manifestations and that they're simply inevitable. And that means we're allowing, we're letting in, we're a vibrational match to attract those things that we want to manifest. You want to manifest $5 million. Good for you. The moment you have that desire, boom, source has created a path to $5 million and it is lined up for you. Okay. Now, all you need to do is to align and travel that path. I always like to use the example of Google Maps, right? You plug in the address, type it in, boom. Google Maps has created a path for you to get to that location, that destination in a matter of moments. It's really quite amazing, right? And then all your job is to follow that blue highlighted route that will get you there, right? And so imagine, I want you to think of it in terms of manifestation point of view. Imagine if you could only follow that route any moment that you were in a state of alignment. If you were in a state of alignment, that means you were on the route. If you are not in a state of alignment, that means you have gone off course. You're off in the grass. You're no longer on the right street. You're no longer taking the right turns. Now, I know I've used this analogy before, but I'm going to use it again because it is that good. It's like that carnival game that you used to play. Do you know the one with the little horses and you have the water guns and you shoot at the bullseye and that makes the horse go? You know the one? You're assigned this little horse and you shoot your water gun, and every time you align your stream of water to hit that bullseye, your horse is going to move forward. It's going to move towards the finish line, which is your goal. But if you get a little off track, if that stream of water gets a little askew, that water stream becomes misaligned to that bullseye, what's going to happen? Your horse is going to stall. It's going to stop. It's no longer moving towards the goal. Okay? That's the power of alignment. That's how alignment works. So to be aligned means that you're moving forward. Every moment you're aligned, you're moving forward towards your manifestation. Every moment you're not aligned, you stay in place. You're stuck. You might even move backwards. We want to be aligned so that we move forward and towards our manifestations. And that's why I find a morning alignment manifestation routine to be just so vitally important to my own personal manifestation practice. When I find myself feeling super moody or pessimistic or just otherwise misaligned, right? When I feel that way, I can usually reflect back on the past couple days in my mind and I realize and I'm like, oops, it's because I've been skipping my morning alignment routine, right? You use it or you lose it. That's how it works. So I do this routine in the morning because it sets the tone of the day. Start your day in a state of alignment and then watch how smoothly and how enjoyable the rest of the day can be. Now, you could do this midday, you could do this routine in the evening, but then you don't get to consciously relish in your boosted alignment for as long. So again, I'm going to share my routine, but most importantly, I'm going to share why I do and why I reflect on each element of the routine, because that's going to be the thing that helps inspire you to figure out what's going to be the thing that creates the same alignment for you. Okay? So first element of the routine. I wake up at a time that feels aligning to me. Now, I will be the absolute first to admit that I know that not everyone is in the same position that I'm in. Okay. I get that. I'm a business owner. I set my own schedule. Very few people have that type of flexibility. But I want to tell you something, okay? No excuses here. I manifested this, and I'm damn proud of it too, okay? I did not always have this kind of schedule, but I wanted it, and then I created it. So if setting your own routine, getting to sleep in the morning, any old morning, even during the weekday sounds good to you, if you want to have more say in your own schedule, why not create it for yourself? You can do this too. If I created it, you can create it. Okay. I did not always have this, but I wanted this and I created it. So I say this and I bring this up because I have spent so many years. I would say probably it's added up to over a decade where I woke up at the crack of dawn to start work downtown at 8 a.m. on the dot. I was cold. I was miserable. I was tired. I had to ride the New York City subway system and my face was squished into someone else's armpit and it stunk and ugh. I remember that viscerally and I hated it. Okay. It was not aligning. Now, for me, I'm more of a night owl. I'm not a morning person. And so for so many years, I would read these self-development books and I would hear about different concepts on podcasts like The Miracle Morning. And I'd see all these bro-y self-development dudes touting why they wake up at 4 a.m. each morning and how that was the key to their success and blah, 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 blah. And it just made me feel so bad. Like, I just knew it wasn't conducive to me. And in fact, I have since found that there's been some research that has come out that shows that actually it's not always conducive to women at large. Like women just need more sleep for adequate hormone regulation than even men do. So I would try to copy that routine because I wanted to be successful, and then I'd be miserable and I'd be misaligned. And wouldn't you know, you can't be successful when you're misaligned. Also, I'm not a coffee or a caffeine drinker personally, so I'd just be so tired. But hey, if it works for them, or even if it works for you, even if you're like listening to this and you're like, Brittany, I don't want to sleep until 8:30 or 8 a.m. Like I want to get up at 5 a.m. That means it's aligning for you. It's about it's about you listening to what is aligning for you in your body. And so it's less about the exact time you need to wake up each day. And it's more about what feels good and best for you. So for me personally, that means waking up naturally without an alarm. Okay. I don't typically have one-on-one hypnotherapy and coaching sessions in the mornings. I'm lucky. My clients just tend to book later in the afternoon, on the weekends, on the weeknights, the evenings. I have morning sessions available. So like occasionally, maybe every 6 weeks or so, I'll get a morning booking and I'm a big girl. I can get up and do a morning booking, right? But I very rarely have to do a morning session. So most days I sleep in. I don't wake up to an alarm, and that just feels really good and aligning to me. I wake up when my body wants to wake up. And so the key ingredient here is whatever time you wake up, whatever method you use to wake up, there's one rule to alignment: zero guilt. Okay? Guilt is not an aligning, feel-good emotion. If you're feeling guilty, that means you're not aligned. So really allow this morning routine to just be aligning for you. Now, here's an example. You all know I've shared with this with you guys before. I'm manifesting starting my family, right? And so I know that my days are luckily very numbered that I'll be able to actually sleep in. But you know what? Waking up to feed a baby feels pretty darn aligning to me right now too. So that is very much in alignment with my goal to start a family. So I say this because, again, it's not about the time you wake up. It's not about the cadence. It's about finding the alignment. I know the alignment's going to be there, whether I'm sleeping in as, a childless woman right now, or if I'm waking up every 2 to 3 hours during the night to breastfeed my baby. Both of those are alignment, right? And both of those are aligning to how I'd like to spend my time in different circumstances. So if you find it aligning to sleep in, go for it. If you sleep in, but then you mentally beat yourself up all day about all the time you wasted, or that, oh, you must be such a lazy person for sleeping in, or whatever negative thought that you might be having, I want you to notice there's a switch there. That means it's no longer aligning. Okay? It's not the time you wake up that makes it aligning. It's your thoughts and your attitude about that time that makes it aligning or not. So you either got to release the guilt and release that thought attached to the time, or another option would be you just find a time where it's easier to have an aligning thought about it. That's kind of the easy way out, the cop way out. That's letting your circumstances dictate your thoughts. But hey, if that's what you need to do until you can really get your thoughts aligned around this, then do it. Okay. So for me, I just kind of decided, because I used to be the kind of person that would beat themselves up and be like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be successful because I slept in 3 hours more than, broy dude said on a podcast. So for me, kind of just one day I decided, why am I bullying myself into waking up just because some hyper performance dude said 4 a.m. was the magical time on a podcast? That became just a little ridiculous of an idea for me. I know it doesn't work for me. So why am I holding myself to his standard? And so I just literally decided one day to stop being so hard on myself about it. And it just did wonders. Sometimes you just have to decide. I can remember literally the day in 5th grade where I just decided, you know what? I'm tired being dumb. I'm just going to be smart. I literally remember having that thought. I can tell you where I had it. I was just about to walk into my classroom. We were lined up for post recess after lunch. And I remember just standing there and thinking, you know what? I'm in all these dumb classes and all these other kids get to go off and do these smart extra things. And I just think I'm going to be one of them. I just think I'm going to be smart. And then sure enough, I just applied myself after I made that decision. And then I was in all the gifted and talented and the, wada stuff, And it changed the whole trajectory of my life, determined what high school classes I'd be in, determine what college I went to, all based on this one decision in 5th grade where I decided to be smart. You can decide to be whoever you want to be, okay? And so in this case, with the sleeping, I just decided to stop being so hard on myself, and it did wonders. And it was funny how much guilt I was placing on myself that was really completely unnecessary. And so now I sleep in, I feel well rested. In fact, I have one of those aura rings that will tell you how you sleep. I don't know, have you guys ever had one of these things before? I really love it. An aura ring. And it tells you how you sleep. And so most days I get a star for my readiness score and a star for my sleep score. And on those days where I happen to get stars in both categories, I call myself an optimal woman. And it's kind of become a running joke in my family. I'll say, hey, guess what? I'll be talking to my husband and I'm like, I'm an optimal woman today. And we sort of laugh because we notice there's a difference. I can feel a difference in myself and how I show up the rest of the day and how well rested I am. And I no longer see sleeping in as a sign of laziness or a lack of ambition. I no longer hold those thoughts. In fact, I've actually made sleeping in signal to me as a sign of success. My biz is so successful that I can set my own hours and I can create this luxury for myself of sleeping in without an alarm clock. So many people don't have that luxury, and yet I'm able to create that luxury for myself. That feels pretty cool. I must be doing something right. So the first aspect of creating your morning manifestation alignment routine is to wake up at the time you want to wake up, the time that feels best and most aligning to you. Now, if you're shouting out at your phone right now at me and saying, well, Brittany, you can do that, but my job won't allow for it. I'm the exception to the rule. Then I just want to seriously ask you a question, okay? I want you to ask this question to yourself. Which is more aligning to you? The job you're currently in or the time you wake up? Now, I ask this because it's a valid question and only you are going to know the answer. Now, if my job required me to wake up at 5 a.m. each day, you better bet I would do it. That would be aligning because I freaking love my job, okay? My job is very aligning to me. It's more aligning to me than what time I wake up. That's just kind of a cherry on top. But I just happen to be very lucky that I get to set the schedule for my job too, so I can have the best of both worlds. Okay. But I think a lot of you will realize that you think your job is set in stone, that your job just sort of happens to you, that it's just a fact, when in actuality, you are the one who is picking it each and every day. And if you want to pick something else, you could. And I know that's going to be sort of groundbreaking to some of you. I think a lot of you guys don't think you have a choice. And hey, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it for you. It might not change overnight. I was working miserable market research jobs for years. I'd wake up at 6 a.m. so I could be at work at 8. That was actually the better hours. For a long time there, I lived in Los Angeles, but I had to work East Coast hours because the rest of the company was on the East Coast and I was on Pacific time. So I actually started work, dressed and at my desk at 6 a.m. Pacific, which was 9 a.m. Eastern. And then I ended at like 3 p.m. But most days they took advantage of that and I had to go way over and it was just miserable. Okay. Yuck. Ugh. I hated it. Not aligning. But here's the key difference. I realized it wasn't a jail sentence. Okay. I knew it was my choice to be there. So I worked to create something different. I just want you to see that whether it's work or something else, like most things that we complain about in life day to day, we can actually change. We act like they're set in stone, right? But actually they're not. It's a choice. The choice and the changes might take a while and they might not necessarily be easy, but we can change them. We do have a choice. So if you rather sleep in this job, you have to ask yourself if you want to sleep in, but you know that this job that you're in prevents that, ask yourself, which is more aligning to me, this job or the time I want to wake up? Because that might tell you just a little clue about if you're aligned to this current line of work, or it might be time for you to change it. Okay. Now, sleeping in might not be a strong enough driver to get you to go back to school or to get a new certification or to switch careers, right? But other factors about your work life might be. Okay. So for me, I mentioned this before, I usually wake up somewhere between 8:30 a.m. naturally. And then most days of the week, I would say, if I'm being completely honest and I look at it in actuality, I would say about 4 to 5 times a week, not every day, but I do my manifestation morning routine. Okay. Now, like I said, I might have an earlier session. I might have some sort of plans in the morning. I might want to get a jump on my day. Something else might feel more aligning instead. But most days of the week, I do this morning alignment routine. Now, here's a super important point that I feel like not enough manifestation teachers actually address. This isn't some religious or some superstitious or some OCD-like practice. Okay? We only do the routine if we feel like doing the routine. If we think it would help set our alignment and help set our day on a more positive note, in a more positive tone. So do not make yourself go crazy thinking you need to do your morning alignment practice or, oh my gosh, if I don't do it today, then that means something bad's going to happen to me. No. X that out. Cancel. Okay. I really strongly caution you with this because I feel like I've seen this come up with several of my clients and I've seen this come up with some people who write to me and DM'd me a lot of things about manifestation. That's taking manifestation too far. That's taking the core tenets of it and extending it beyond what it was ever intended to be. Okay. Now and when you do that, that can lead to these kind of mild OCD-like tendencies. And then all of a sudden you use manifestation as an excuse to validate OCD-like tendencies when really actually you could really benefit from going to therapy and working on those, right? And that's not the purpose. Okay. It crosses the line then, right? And you know how we know that crosses the line? The line? Well, it's because it's no longer in alignment, right? When it's taken too far, it moves it from aligning feel-good thinking to magical thinking. And that's how you know when you've crossed the line where you're no longer in alignment. So everything in this practice is rooted in alignment, which means everything in this practice is rooted in you feeling good. including whether or not you even do the practice. Nothing's off limits here. Why we do something like this is that it's helping you get back in touch with your own moment-to-moment ability to choose. So many of us don't want to choose. So many of us think that things are determined for us. In fact, that's a huge, example of how OCD-like thinking can manifest in your life, right? You think you don't have a choice, that you have to turn on the light switch this many times, or you have to go check that the locks are locked or that the stove is off or whatever. You don't feel like you have a choice anymore. And alignment routines is reminding you and teaching you that you have a choice. It's helping you realize how much autonomy and choice you truly have in your life. Guys, everything is a choice. And this is kind of, I didn't intend this, but this is sort of the unexpected theme of the episode. I want you to start looking at everything in your life and asking yourself, do I have to do this? And when I say, do I have to do this, not because your boss said so, not because your mom said so, not because you even said so at some earlier time. I mean it as in, like, will I live or die if I do this? Like, will I die if I don't? Because that's really the only non-choice there is if you put yourself in danger, then it's no longer a choice. And then I want you to follow up and ask yourself, well, do I want to do this? Is this aligning for me? Would this make me feel good to do this? So many of us think that we have zero choice about the things in our life, but we're purely lying to ourselves. And you know why we do this? I think we do this because it's easier to abdicate responsibility. It's easier to blame someone else or whatever it is, right? It's easier to do that than to embrace our own power and our own choice. A lot of us weren't even taught as children how to make choices. All our choices were made for us. We had no autonomy. We had no skill. And so it feels very overwhelming to make choices. Now, I say this, that doesn't mean there won't be consequences to your choices. We have to consider the consequences. There absolutely will be. But that's got to weigh into the equation of alignment here. Okay? I may not want to eat fruits and veggies. I may prefer the taste of pizza and chocolate, right? But the consequences of a diet without any fruits and veggies, compared to the consequences of only eating pizza every day, that's not aligning to the life I want to live. Even though I love pizza, the consequences are not aligning, okay? Now, I'd rather have a life where I have a healthy, functioning body that has lots of longevity and eats fruits and veggies than a life filled with nonstop pizza that tastes good, but now I have diabetes and I'm confined to a wheelchair and I'm morbidly obese and, I've cut off my lifespan by 15 years, I'm making this up, right? Those are things that I could expect, right? If I wasn't eating a healthy diet. I can look at both of those scenarios. I can weigh the pros and the cons, and I can anticipate the consequences of my choices. And then I pick the overall scenario that's most aligning to me. And guys, that applies to your morning routine too. So for me, I get up at a time that feels good. I dedicate about 45 minutes to this routine. That's what I found that is aligning to me. That's the sweet spot. So the very first thing that I do is I start listening to a hypnotherapy audio. Now, I kind of have several in my rotation right now, and it really changes depending on what I want to manifest the most during that time. So right now, you guys know that I'm manifesting growing my family. So I have 2 to 3 hypnotherapy audios that I rotate through that are focused on that particular topic, or can be focused on that topic directly, or are focused on releasing the blocks that may have been keeping me from manifesting that particular area, if there are any. Now, here's something I kind of want to point out. To identify those subconscious blocks, you'll most likely want to work with a one-on-one hypnotherapist in order to identify those, okay? If they aren't conscious to you. They might be conscious to you. You might know exactly what they are, but you might have no idea what's blocking you. If you have no idea, then go to a hypnotherapist, right? Now, you might have an idea. You might say, you know what? I really want to be an artist and I want to be an artist as my career, but I know my lack of confidence is keeping me from manifesting that career. I'm not putting myself out there. Well, then you know what the block is. And therefore you could do a confidence hypnosis as part of your rotation to help you with that. But if you don't know the blocks, a one-on-one hypnotherapist is going to help you identify those and will most likely, depends on who you see, but is most likely going to give you an hypnotherapy audio that you'll get to keep that will help you get rid of those blocks. At least that's what I do with my one-on-one clients in my programs, right? Each of my clients get a custom audio that's going to help them eradicate whatever block it is that we've identified that they need to get rid of. So why I keep things really focused for my morning routine is because I want to create repetition in my mind. Okay. That's how you see the best and the fastest results. That's how we begin to reprogram our neural pathways. It's all through repetition. So if I was focused on one manifestation one day, and then I decide, actually, I'm going to switch to another one. And then, oh, now I'm going to do this other hypnotherapy audio. And now I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And I'm just like switching all over the place. I kind of like to think of it that it's like pouring water from a jug into like 10 different glasses. Okay. If you do that, none of them are going to barely have any water, right? Like each single glass is just going to have a little bit of water in it because you've been diverting all that water across so many different areas. It's going to take way longer to fill a single glass, which is the equivalent of manifesting a single result. Instead, focus on one manifestation. Use only 2 to 3 hypnotherapy audios that are all focused on that manifestation. Then you're taking that jug of water and you're filling up one glass so much faster. You're going to see results faster that way, okay? Rather than diverting your attention and focus all over the place. So for me, I have one morning hypnotherapy audio, I have one evening hypnotherapy audio, and then just the other day I added in a new one that's kind of focused on like spirit baby communication. And frankly, that's simply because it just feels fun. And that's sort of oddly specific to my manifestation right now. It might not be specific to you, right? Now, if you wanted to manifest making as much money as a hero of yours or a mentor of yours, you probably wouldn't need to do a spirit baby communication audio, but you might find it beneficial to find an audio that would connect you to your intuition. So the next time a business problem comes up or you aren't sure what to do next, then you could kind of consult your inner advisor, your intuition, an audio like that might be kind of handy as kind of like a bonus audio for like problem solving. Now, even though I want to point this out because this is really important, even though I only focus on 2 to 3 hypnotherapy audios at a time, I personally own like 300 hypnotherapy audios. I think it's like 283 the last time I counted, which I'm sure it's higher than that now in my own personal library. Okay. And this is because you're going to manifest things. You do this, you're going to manifest things. Your manifestations are going to change. Either because you already manifested them anymore, so you don't need to work on that subject, or because you changed your mind, you got more clarity on what you wanted, you identified some blocks that you weren't aware of before, and now you want to address those. Like there's so many different reasons why you might need to shift those 2 to 3 audios so that they're most suited to where you are right now. So I have this kind of huge library to pull from, but from that library, I focus on 2 to 3 at a time. And frankly, that's one of the reasons why I'm in the process of creating the Manifested Me Vault. And this is going to be a subscription library that you can join online so you can stream, which is essentially renting manifestation specific hypnotherapy audios. Because the audio that's going to work best for you is going to be different than works best for me. That's going to be different than works best for, Cindy down the street, right? So I want to make sure that you have a one-stop shop to any audio for any manifestation or any manifestation block that you could possibly need. Now, I've told you guys in past episodes about the vault. The vault is still very much in development. So this is kind of a behind the scenes peek, but I'm going to let you guys know once it goes live because I want you to have access to it. Now, I mentioned that I focus on one hypnotherapy audio in the morning and one for the evening. This is by design. Okay, so each audio, although they support the same topic of my manifestation, they actually serve different purposes and they use different hypnotherapeutic techniques that are better suited for morning versus nighttime. And so let me explain the difference between that, what you would look for in a morning hypnotherapy audio versus a nighttime one. So the morning one is a more active subconscious mind audio, meaning that I want to modulate my level of depth in hypnosis so that I can be more of an active participant in the visualization and the intuitive download process that occurs in that recording. So I personally find that when I do a heavy visualization recording or recording that requires me to kind of really tune into my intuition, if I do that at night, I might go too deeply into the theta brainwave state, which is the state of hypnosis, right? That I don't find myself consciously being able to remember what I experienced. And for me, that's kind of no fun. I like the feeling of getting to be in my manifestation, to feel what it feels like, to visualize it, to get that like divine lightning bolt of inspiration from my intuition. Like I want to wake up from my hypnosis and remember those things. And if I go too deep into theta, which tends to happen when you're more relaxed, which tends to happen at nighttime, maybe when you're in the process of falling asleep, you might not consciously remember those things. And it's just a personal preference. It's not that it doesn't work as well. It's just a personal preference. I just like to enjoy it a little bit more, be a more active participant. So I want to use that inspiration to help and to guide me, and which means that I want to consciously remember it. So personally, I do the ultimate manifestation hypnotherapy audio each and every morning, okay? Or most mornings, I guess I should say. Now, if you have listened to the podcast any at all, you have heard me talk about this audio a ton. It is amazing. It's very active, and it's a great audio to do in the morning as opposed to the evening time. It doesn't mean that you can't do it in the evening, okay? So don't freak out if you've been doing it at night. I would just recommend that if you were to do it at night, make sure you're sitting up. Don't lie down. Just that these are ways that without me being there, like in your ear as your personal hypnotherapist, like I would my clients, it's ways that you can kind of help modulate your own level of depth in hypnosis so that you don't go too deep where your conscious mind is going to be completely offline. There are other hypnotherapy audios to do in those cases, right? And again, that is another benefit of why you would want to work with a one-on-one hypnotherapist, is because that hypnotherapist can do the modulating of your depth of hypnosis for you, right? So that you don't go so deep where your conscious mind is completely offline. And, if that's something that you struggle with, if you feel like you're always falling asleep during hypnosis and it feels like you're falling asleep, then you're never really going to consciously remember what happened. And you might find it beneficial to work with a hypnotherapist to learn how to modulate your own depth. Now, in the evening, I don't really have a manifestation routine per se, but I do oftentimes listen to a hypnotherapy audio as I fall asleep. It's very relaxing. It helps me fall asleep. I feel like I can fall asleep much easier after I finish that recording. But I will pick a hypnotherapy audio that uses different techniques. So in this case, it's not going to be so much visualization and intuition focused, but it's going to be more heavily, related to suggestions and positive affirmations, things that my brain can take in more passively so that as I'm falling asleep, I can hear them. My subconscious mind is still listening, even as my conscious mind is going to sleep, right? And going to sleep means that you're moving through that theta brainwave state, which is hypnosis, into the delta brainwave state, which is sleep. Now, sometimes I move into delta and go all the way to sleep. Sometimes I listen to a hypnotherapy audio that's designed for sleep, which is designed to help me move into delta. Sometimes I don't, it really depends on the day, right? So, I personally like to consciously remember my visualization and be a more active participant in that visualization process. So that's why I don't visualize at night. I don't visualize at a time where my subconscious mind is going to go deep, deep, deep into theta or even to delta. So step one of the manifestation routine, I do a hypnotherapy audio. Now, the ultimate manifestation hypnotherapy audio, that particular audio is very packed. I mean, it is a comprehensive audio. It's about 30 minutes long. So doing it, when I do it in my morning routine, takes up most of my 45 minutes that I dedicate to this, right? But still, after I finish that audio, I usually still have like about 15 minutes left in my routine. So after I finish that audio, I take out my phone. I'm still lying in bed or, sitting in bed, just whatever position I'm in. And I pull up this note in my phone that has a whole list of reflection questions that I'm going to share with you guys here. And I like to ask myself some very specific alignment questions and reflect on very specific aligning statements for the day. Now, I might have shared, I can't really remember, to tell you the truth, if I've shared these statements on the show before. I really can't remember, but I share them with my clients all the time. So these are some questions I've collected, mostly for myself, but some from some various sources over the years. I refine them every so often, and I only ever continue to ask myself these questions and reflect on them if it feels good and beneficial, right? Because again, the whole point is alignment. And I allow my brain to focus on the things that feel good and right to me as I start off my day. So the first statement I reflect on, and you can journal on this, or you can just think it in your mind, your answers in your mind. That's what I do. But the first thing I think to myself is, thank you for waking up. Everything is just gravy. And I just kind of love that thought, right? Like, guys, we woke up today. Good job. Good job for waking up. Like, it is really sad to say, but there are quite a few people in this world who they celebrated waking up yesterday, but they did not wake up today. And I know that's not super aligning to think about, but it's humbling to think about. It's morbid, but I actually looked it up. On average, 150,000 people die in the world each day. I doubt you thought you'd be hearing that statistic on the Manifestation Podcast. That's a lot of people, but guess what? You were not one of them. Good job. And so if we can really reflect and be like, wow, I woke up today. What if everything else from the moment you woke up onwards was just a bonus? It was just gravy. Like, doesn't that just sort of take off the pressure for a little bit? We could get so caught up in life that we forget what matters or lose perspective on why we're here. Being human means that we realize that we have put so much unnecessary pressure that is ultimately purely self-inflicted. And that's so sad. So I just kind of like to, first things first, take a moment to recalibrate at the beginning of the day. Guess what? I'm alive. And because I'm alive, that means I'm already winning. And that's just such a nice thought to realize. I already have so much more than some people have, which is this very next breath. Yay. Let's celebrate it. Everything else is bonus points. Phew. Then the next thing on my list, I remind myself, today could be the best day of your life. Ooh, just relish in that thought because it could. We don't know what the day holds. It hasn't happened yet. And allow your brain to just take a moment to daydream a little bit. Like, how could today be the best day of your life? What would need to happen to cause it to be? But mostly just sort of grin at the fact that, if it were the best day of your life, that means something really good, something really positive, perhaps something even really surprising that you can't even think of right now could happen today. Ooh, and I just love that thought. Like, in fact, take a moment to think back on the day that has been the best day of your life so far. Like, did you know at the beginning of that day that this was going to be the best day of your life? I think mine, if I had to think like right now, I think mine was probably my wedding day so far, but I fully intend that a future day is going to dethrone that day someday. But I think back, like even the morning of my wedding day, I knew that was going to be a big day, but I don't think I knew how beautiful of a day it would be. And so in the morning, you're never going to know what the best day of your life will bring. And today could be that day. And then I ask myself, well, what am I looking forward to today? And that helps you kind of focus on what you want to create, okay? What you're planning for the day. What's so great about it? I think we think that so many days are kind of just like filler days until we get to the manifestation. We're always looking to the future. But I want us to get back to focusing and celebrating on the moments that we have, to see there are good new moments each and every day. So for me, what I was looking forward to today was recording this episode. I love this podcast. I love the weekly creation of this show. And then I like to ask myself, longer term, what am I looking forward to? Now, this might have something to do with your manifestation. It might be something else, like an upcoming vacation. Just allow yourself a moment to relish in that too. Then I tune into manifested me. Now, if you've been doing the ultimate manifestation hypnotherapy audio, you know what I mean here by now. Manifested me is the version of you who has aligned yourself with your preferred outcomes. Now, some people call it future you, but I really strayed away from that language a while ago, okay? If we continually view that version of you as someone that exists out in the future, then that's kind of like chasing a carrot that's dangled on a stick in front of you, right? It's always going to be out in front of you. It's always going to be in your future, and therefore you will have never experienced it in your present moment. And we don't want that. Who says this needs to be a future version of you? I don't want to make that assumption. I could very well assume that you might become her or him today. And so I want you to meld and mesh and become them now in your present moment so that you can become more aligned to achieving your goal. That's what we want to practice. And so we do a lot of that practice during hypnotherapy, especially the Ultimate Manifestation Hypnotherapy audio. A big chunk of it is practicing that. And so now I want you to do that with your conscious mind too, because we have to know what it feels like consciously in our 3D reality to be that version of ourselves, because that's the version you're going to need to be with your manifestation. The hypnotherapy is just kind of like your training wheels, right? So now we want to take those training wheels off and we want to practice in real life. And so I take a moment and I tune into manifested me. And I know I've shared this with you in a past podcast episode. I like to do a little like trick and kind of like tap my shoulder, kind of like I'm turning on an on switch or I'm turning her on. I mean, it's kind of silly, but that sort of action just sort of reminds me and it puts me in that man's mindset. And then I ask manifested me and I say, how can I move closer to your vision today? What would you do with this day? What do I need to do to be you? And I kind of remind myself that I can switch her on in any moment. She's always there. She's always a part of me. She's a timeline that I can access that can tell me what to do with my present moment. So let me give you an example. Let's say you want to manifest some weight loss, okay? You want to manifest losing 80 pounds. Go you. Well, you can switch on the version of you who is 80 pounds lighter and ask her, what are we having for lunch today? Because she knows what to eat. She eats it every day. She knows what works best for her slimmer body. And when she makes your decisions, that's when you become her. You see? Oh, it's so powerful. Next, I remind myself a core tenet that I know we have talked about in a past podcast episode here because it's very important to me. I remind myself to be on the offense. Okay, to be in creator mode today, to no longer be on the defense and victim or reactor or wet rag mode, as I lovingly call it. Okay. And this is just bringing awareness to those elements of life where I might be falsely thinking that I have no choice. We talked about that earlier, or where I might slip into kind of like, woe is me mode. No, you are the creator and don't you forget it. So what are you gonna create today? Decide. Next, I tune into the present moment. I do a little mindfulness exercise. I ask myself, am I present in my body here and now? Feeling what I feel, seeing what I see now, hearing what I hear, and am I enjoying the gift of being alive? And you notice how I pause kind of in between each of those statements. I take a moment after each sense and I just feel into it. I just experience it fully. It grounds you back into this moment, this body, this 3D physical reality you're inhabiting. I think it's easy when we love manifestation and we love quantum jumping and timeline shifting and hypnotherapy. It can be really fun to spend time in the 4D and the 5D. But we as human beings, we live in the 3D. That's what we picked in this incarnation of our soul, right? That's the human experience. It's what it means to be human. And so let's just enjoy it. I mean, go back to the basics that are oh so powerful. Now, I will admit, this particular one I did not come up with. I got it from some book and it is driving me nuts because it was like years ago that I learned it. It's driving me nuts that I cannot remember the book. But if I think of it, I'm going to add it in the show notes so you have it. Okay. Now, the last element of reflection that I have on this list, I take a deep breath and I focus on being relaxed in my heart. And as I exhale that breath, I allow that oxygen to just sort of float up into my brain and awaken my brain fully. Ooh, now this is one of my favorite elements from Dr. Joe Dispenza's meditations, okay? He says, be relaxed in the heart and awake in the brain. And I just sort of love that sensation in my body. It just exudes alignment. I picture my heart almost like it has like nostrils on my heart, which is kind of a weird image, right? But as I breathe in, it's really like my heart is breathing in. And this just kind of opens your heart space. It opens up your heart chakra. And then you can transmute that energy that you breathed in, that new oxygen and that new energy that you're breathing in through your heart. And you just send it straight up your spine and your spinal cord up into your brain. And it's the best natural morning energy booster you could even imagine. And then after all that, I like to remind myself that it's okay to be safe and grounded in my body. Now, I'm lucky, I'm lucky. I've gotten so in tune with my body after years of theater school, after years of practicing meditation and hypnotherapy. So I can sort of feel when I might be on edge or when I might be amped up or bracing for something. I can feel that, right? So I don't know what degree that you're in tune with your body or not, but we can oftentimes find ourselves stuck in this mode, this sort of state of mild fight or flight, this state of nervous system activation, even when there are zero direct threats around us. We can still act like there are. Our body can still think that there is something threatening. And so I like to take a moment each day to remind my brain and my body, hey, there is zero need to be on alert right now. So let's shift down into a more regulated state. And sometimes I'll picture it just like that. I'll use some visualization to do that. I'll picture I'm like a car that needs to kind of just shift down a few gears. Or maybe, into neutral. That's a great place to be, right? Or sometimes I'll imagine that maybe there was an alarm system that's set on my body. It was set. And, my nervous system was set to alarm. And now I'm just sort of disarming the alarm. I punch in the code and the alarm turns off. And I can just feel my body, my nervous system just go, and it relaxes, it lets go, it disarms, it settles in, it regulates. You want to come back to that safe baseline. So that feels like a lot, but you can go through these things on this list very quickly. That's the list. It takes about maybe 5 minutes to go through and do. And so then after that, I then review my manifestation evidence list. Now, I am not going to spend any time describing to you how to create this, okay? Because actually, I recently did a full podcast episode just on this one exercise. So I want you to go back. I want you to listen to the episode called The Number One Manifestation Exercise I'm Loving Right Now. It's episode 43, and it is going to teach you all about how to create a manifestation evidence list. But what I'll do is I'll read through my list. I'll smile at all the realizations for why my manifestation is absolutely so inevitable. And if there's new developments that have occurred, I'll come across new evidence to add to the list. I add it then. But mainly, I'm just sort of reading over the list. I'm thinking about all the reasons why my manifestation is right around the corner. All the reasons why this evidence proves this to be true. And I reflect on the evidence of why it's absolutely going to happen to me. And most likely you are going to be smiling by the time you reach the end of your list, okay? It's a very good exercise to do. Now, gosh, this episode's almost an hour long at this point. And by this point in my morning manifestation routine, I usually have 5 minutes left on the 45 minutes that I've dedicated to this, okay? If I'm lucky. But if I have any time, that's when I move into my gratitude practice. And I know I've talked about this on the show before. I have a gratitude list that I've kept on my phone for I don't even remember, probably 7 or 8 years by now. I think I started it right when I got married. And I checked it again this morning. It's constantly growing. It now has 3,533 entries on this list. And it's funny, I pull up this note on my phone and it literally glitches each time I try to add something new to it. I should really just split it into 2 different notes, but I kind of want to see, I'm using it as a little experiment to see how much Apple will let me add to this note before it crashes. I don't know. I'm being kind of weird with it. I just want to see. I'm curious. But each time I get to this list, I'll add 10 more things to the list. And let me just tell you, by the time you're at minute 40 of 45 of this manifestation morning routine, you are flying high, okay? Gratitude is super easy by now. It just feels so good, so aligned. The gratitude comes super easy. But if for some reason you can't think of anything to write down, I love to use Google to help you brainstorm ideas, okay? I like to try to reflect on gratitude, both for the things that I'm grateful for in my life, but I also like to turn that gratitude inwards, okay? That does wonders for your self-esteem. So think about the things you're grateful for with yourself. It might be your smile. It might be the way that you help people when they're in need. Maybe you bring levity and jokes to your team meetings. Okay, I don't know. But I just want you to remember, you don't have to think of gratitude as something that only applies to things you're grateful for outside of your life. We want to spend some time being grateful for who we are and what we provide to this world too. Wow. Okay. So that is my full morning manifestation alignment routine. I hope you got some inspiration. And more than anything, I hope that you notice what all of these things in this routine have in common. It's helping your brain attune to the goodness that exists in this life all around you. Right? The joy, the gratitude, the love, all those good feeling emotions that define alignment. It's hooking you up to them. It's recharging your body and mind with them. And then it's letting that fuel the rest of your day. And let me tell you, it makes a world of difference. Now, like I said before, you're more than welcome to copy my routine. You're more than welcome to give this routine a go. You're also more than welcome to use it as inspiration to create your own. But if you want help with the biggest piece of this routine, okay, which I would say is the piece that most non-hypnotherapists lack the skill set to be able to implement, I want you to go ahead and download the free Ultimate Manifestation Hypnotherapy audio that I talked about as part of this routine. And I want you to listen to it in the mornings. I don't gatekeep here, guys, okay? This is literally the same recording I listen to in the morning routine. It's 30 minutes of my 45-minute routine. And it can be yours too. So just go to BrittanyHoops.com/audio, or you can check out the link in my show notes. Super easy to just click it there and it'll bring you right to the audio. So if you're ready to align your mind with your dreams, if you are ready to start manifesting with ease, I want you to download my Ultimate Manifestation Hypnotherapy audio. It's completely free and it's designed to give you a little bit of a taste of the transformation that you'll experience once I launch the upcoming Manifested Me Vault, which is going to be a full library of manifestation-focused hypnotherapy audios that you're going to be able to use during the morning, night, and all those moments in between to align to manifesting your goals. It's so exciting. Trust me, this is just the beginning of what is possible. So click the link in the show notes and grab it now. And I'll catch you in the next episode.